Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, we are from the fifth group, and today we will understanding text marking and annotation. So, here are our member group. The first is me, Lina Nofera, and then Laela Nur Khamidah, and the last is Nursawalina. Okay, before going to the definition, I would like to show you our table of content first. So here are what we are going to tell. The first is introduction, understanding text marking and annotation. The second is study strategies, critical thinking and QAR as a study aid. And the next, using textbook feature, marking and annotating text, and then vocabulary strategy, improving your college level vocabulary, and the last is understanding graphic, reading complex table. Okay, understanding text marking annotation. In this chapter, we are going to show you how to use text marking and annotation and develop our reading skill. By using text marking and annotation, we can understanding what we have read. It helps us pay attention to some of important parts and etc. And then, what is annotating? Annotating is any action that deliberately interacts with a text to enhance the reader's understanding of, recall of, and reaction to the text. Annotating usually involves highlighting or underlining key pieces of text and marking notes in the margins of the text. We are moving to study strategies, critical thinking and using question, answer relationship QAR as a study aid. In college tests also require proficiency in critical thinking a study aid. The first is analyzing. Analysis is separate information into parts to see how they fit together. And the second is synthesizing information. Synthesize is put parts together to form a whole, focusing on creating something new and forming a new conclusion. And the last is evaluating. Evaluation as make a judgment about the value of a reading or point of view. Question-answer relationship or QAR is a strategy that helps you to understand what types of question is being asked and therefore how to answer it. Question fall into one of these four categories. The first is right there. This type of question is literal, so you can be asked to locate information in the text that is explicitly stated and can be found in a particular spot. The second is think and search. This type of question compels you to find a literal and directly state answer and locate information in the passage. The next, author and you. This type of question requires you to comprehend the passage and to locate information. However, you must also use your own expression or opinion along with that of the author. And fourth, on your own. This type of question refers exclusively to your own opinion about a topic or your own experience and background knowledge. Reading rate. College reading is far more difficult than reading in high school because college reading is more intensive and complex. That's why you must vary your reading rate or your speed at which you read, depending on several factors related to the reading passage you are tackling. And the most important factors that affect reading rate are: the first, your purpose for reading; second, your background knowledge related to the topic; and third, the level of comprehension in reading passage requires. And about comprehension monitoring, to be active in reading, it is important to use the appropriate strategies to fix the problem. You have to know what to do about not understanding what you are reading to begin to grasp the ideas. First, do not expect to read everything in college at the same speed. The second, expect to use pre-reading during reading and post-reading strategies when to learn information. As you can see on your screen, there are tables that shows the second strategies. And the last, third, have a repertoire of strategies to use when you don't understand the information.
And the next is using textbook features. A textbook feature is any feature of the textbook provided to aid the student in learning material presented. There are many types of textbook feature. Some features you can expect to encounter within a chapter follow. The first chapter is Introduction. Introduction the information in the chapter, usually with a real-life application. Thus, introduction function to prime the brain for accepting the new information by outlining important information for the student. Chapter outline, objective or goals are usually presented as an outline of key subjects or topic to be discussed in the chapter. And the third chapter's key terms and their definition in the text margin. Or otherwise emphasized are very useful for students as this definition and example are often exactly the ones that need to be learned for classes. And the four, box and chart. Box and chart often summarize information in a chapter or prompt you to reflect on the chapter contents and should be examined closely. And number five, graphic aids or visual. Graphic aids or visual represent important information related to the content of the chapter. And the number six, future readings or application. Future readings or application are passages inserted into a textbook chapter that apply the idea of the chapter to a case study, a real-life scenario, or another discipline. And the number seven is chapter summarize. usually appear at the end of chapters and present a condensed version of key information. And for the last study question, review exercise and other learning device are found at the end of the chapter. This device allows students to test whether or not they really know the information and to make prediction about test question. Marking and annotation text. Text marking, often referred to simply as underlining, is the is a term used to express a reader's interaction with written information as a part of an effective study strategy. And why why we need to use text marking, because text marking is an effective strategy. You learn to selectively identify the most important information in reading. Because marking the text is a selective strategy, you choose only certain things to mark with your pen. You are doing the groundwork for not taking. Marking text is the process of sorting important from unimportant information in reading. And in the sorting, you are learning the information and preparing it for storage in long-term memory. Annotating is an action that deliberately interacts with a text to enhance the reader's understanding of, recall of, and reaction to the text. Annotating usually involves highlighting or underlining key pieces of text and marking notes in the margin of the text. In order to be able effectively marking a text, you must have a solid grounding in several comprehension skills. The first is you must be able to recognize the pattern of organization of a text. The second, you must be able to see relationship between ideas in a passage. And the last, you must be able to pinpoint the main idea and major supporting points that support the most important point. And here's some quick tips how to mark a text. For the first one is you must circle concept or key terms. A concept is an idea or simply the topic of passage. The second, underline main ideas only. Underlining is a way of marking the text to determine main ideas and supporting details. You should underline anything but the main idea itself. However, because this would be confusing. The third, the third, enumerate major supporting details in the margin. And the last one, use small case alphabetical. And after you have marked the text you can annotate. That is, write notes paraphrasing the topic, the main idea, and major, and minor supporting details in the margin, or on separate sheet of paper, based on your marking of the text. And here steps for marking a text. The number one, you must preview the reading, then read paragraph or passage in its entirety. Determine the author's purpose. The four, determine the topic of the reading, then determine the pattern of organization, determine the main idea, and go back and mark the text. And the last one, after you mark the text, non-notate or make notates paraphrasing of the topic, main idea and major, minor details in a margin or on separate piece of paper.
And the next is quick tips. The SOUL method of taking notes. SOUL is an acronym or the first letter of each word is combined to form easy to remember word. To help you remember the key points in the marking, SOUL stand for the first select that make sure you are selective about choosing the key point. The second is organize that make sure you organize the key point based on author structure. The third is understands, that make sure you understand what you're writing by paraphrasing the author's language. And the last is learn, that use your study notes to prepare for tests and learn the information. Vocabulary strategy. There are three strategies to improve your vocabulary. The first is improving your college level vocabulary. In college texts, you will encounter many words that you don't know. One strategy for understanding these key terms is to use the key terms featured in your textbooks. Another strategy that you can use in practice and apply the vocabulary strategies of using context clues, recognizing word parts, and understanding figurative language. However, sometimes you need to be active in expanding your vocabulary by using a dictionary and learning more complex words through study. The second is using dictionary. Every college students need to own a good college dictionary. A dictionary will help you understand different ways a particular word can be used in a different context, and a dictionary identifies what's a part of speech a word is: noun, pronoun, verb, article, adjective, adverb, conjunction, and interjection. A dictionary can provide information about the origin of the word, whether it is derived from Latin, Greek, Old English, French, or another language. The third is recognizing common college vocabulary. While there is no doubt vocabulary is acquired through encountering words you don't know within passage you are reading. Some you may decide to begin to expand your vocabulary by learning. Use your knowledge of word part of make educate quizzes and to meaning a following word or look them up in a dictionary. Understanding graphics. To find my idea in a graphic, use the same steps you used in reading text. With complex table, however, you will be benefit from marking the information in the table in order point the most information. Yes, you do in written text. No, you do in written text. No, you will sharp your skills by finding information of importance to draw conclusion about complex table. To read for information ideas graphics. The first, you should determine the topic, and the second, determine the pattern of organization, and the third is determine the most important point. In the case of complex table, you have to look closely at the information to get the most important point. You will add three more steps to draw your conclusion. The first is determine the meaning of each of the columns represented in the table. The second is determine the meaning of each of the columns tells you as well about the topic. And the last is make a reasonable inference about future trends. When you want to make a columns, make sure that your columns based on your data research before. Then give explanation to make sure you understand easily.
Okay, so that's all for our presentation today. We hope that you get new knowledge and we hope that our material is useful too. We do apologize for the mistakes we made during the presentation. Thank you and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.